This is a great question. How do you cue pregnant people? So I have so many thoughts about this, and we're going to get a little philosophical and kind of bigger picture before we dive into answering the question. I think one of the core issues with the fitness industry and the yoga industry is that we often, as the student, give the instructor a lot of power. And we assume the instructor knows a whole lot, and we kind of like blindly follow the instructor, right? Because that's the culture that we're in, we as teachers receive that. So students will come in and they'll say, hey, I injured my shoulder here, or hey, I'm like 3 months pregnant, like tell me what to do with my body, you know? And the really important thing is to know that you're just a barre teacher. You're not a physical therapist unless you are a physical therapist. You're not a doctor. So that's point one. So as soon as a student comes to me and they're like, I'm pregnant, tell me what to do, the first thing I say is, have you talked to your doctor? And that puts the seed in their mind that maybe they should consult a professional who understands what they're talking about when it comes to childbirth and not a barre teacher. So that's the first thing. Same with injuries. Have you talked to your doctor? Point two is it's really radical as fitness and yoga teachers to trust our students know what's best for them. Because again, we're in this culture that we're supposed to know everything, right? We're supposed to know all the anatomy. We're supposed to be a DJ and a massage therapist and a physical therapist and prenatal and trauma informed and right? We're supposed to know so much. And that puts a huge load on us while not giving power and autonomy and ownership to our students. Trust that your students know their bodies, like enter with that perception. My student knows her body, knows what she needs way more than I could ever know. Now you will get people who come in and they're like, I've had this happen before. She was like, I just found out I'm pregnant. I don't know what the f to do. What do I do? Right? You will get students like that who are leaning on you pretty hard, but always defaulting to the student for the wisdom. A practical example of like how we would be in that situation. So if a pregnant student comes in and she's like, I'm pregnant, what should I do? Then the key point that you always tell your students is do what feels good, avoid what doesn't. I have an injured shoulder. When does it feel good? It feels good when I do this. When does it not feel good? When I do this. Cool. Do this. Don't do this. So our bodies are wise. And if we put the power into the student's hands and we trust the student, they start to trust themselves. And that's like huge. That sends a ripple through their lives. With all of that said, there are some things that you can share. These are just standard guidelines for teaching fitness to pregnant people. Again, trust the woman, because if a woman is very active long before her pregnancy, some of these might not apply to her, right? So trust her, or the person, because if she doesn't identify as a woman, the person who's pregnant, trust them. When someone's pregnant in your class, wait for them to tell you they're pregnant, because they might not want you to know. They might not want the students to know. They also might not be pregnant, and that's really embarrassing. Generally, we want pregnant people to avoid deep twisting. The further they go on, the harder it is for them to twist. Their hips are shifting and the sciatica nerve is really vulnerable. If they're twisting and their muscles are moving around, these moving bones, that sciatica nerve might get permanently pinched and cause sciatica. So avoid twisting. I always tell pregnant people in my class, make sure you can breathe and you can talk. If they feel like they can't talk, not enough oxygen is getting to the placenta. So I'd say like only take it to the intensity until you feel like you can't talk. Avoid abdominal crunches. So this is our whole first sequence. Now, if they're early on, crunches are okay. if they're in their second or third trimester, crunches are not beneficial because their bodies are trying to stretch that portion of their bodies out. And some data has shown that if they're doing crunches and they're trying to tighten that area that's wisely stretching, then they're more likely to have, I forget what it's called, but it's where your rectus core separates and the fascia between the rectus core has a harder time healing after the baby. You can always give them a seat workout to do instead, or arms. Kind of do this for 3 minutes and your shoulders are feeling dope. First trimester, the body is hyper changing. It's like all the hormones are shifting, all the fluids are shifting. And so moms are going to feel tired fast. Mom might feel nauseated. And some moms don't know that. So you might want to let them know, like, hey, you might feel fatigued faster, like you might not feel as strong, and that's okay. Just make sure you can breathe and talk, right? Second and third trimester, doctors recommend not laying on back. Again, it's up to the person. Don't lay on the back because it can block oxygen going to the mother. So the mom might just fall asleep and might not be breathing, which is kind of scary. So not laying on back, laying on the side. Instead of going down onto the belly, you find other things to do, like holding in a tabletop, doing leg and arm lifts, things like that. If I have someone who's very pregnant in my class and needs support, what I tend to do is I teach the whole class, and then I say, like, I make sure I know that person's name. Let's say her name's Kelly. And I say, hey, Kelly, for you, you'll be laying on your side. Maybe do some quad stretches here. Everyone else, here's where we are. Or like, hey, Kelly, for you, this is the part where you do that arm work we talked about instead of doing the laying on your back in the core. Third major point is that you won't know what someone needs unless you experience it for yourself. Like you absolutely won't know. It's bloody hard. One way that you could try to experience being pregnant, if you're not pregnant, is like wrapping pillows around your belly, maybe putting some weights in there, and then trying to do plank, and then trying to do leg work, and then trying to do seat, and see, like, what do I need? What do I need when I have that feeling? And then you'll be able to tell from experience what you need and how you can change your class. Oh, make sure mom's drinking water, stay hydrated. I'd say, like, take a sip of water every 2 songs. Cool? All right.